Two talented football teams, both with loaded rosters and Super Bowl expectations. The Philadelphia Eagles versus the Buffalo Bills had a lackluster game. It was a 13-12 football game, and both left much to be desired out there. So I want to ask this question, Paige Dimakos. Who are you more confident in to win the Super Bowl? The Buffalo Bills or the Philadelphia Eagles?
Man, I've gone back and forth on this because right now, after that performance, I would like to hit eject on both teams, quite frankly, because they both left a lot to be desired
Yep.
on and either half, depending on which half you paid attention to. That second half, Jalen Hurts didn't complete a pass. That being said, there's one team and one team only that's been there, done that, won it, and has championship pedigree, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. And as much as I understand that Jalen Hurts didn't complete a pass in the second half. I understand that they've had offensive woes throughout the year. But the Buffalo Bills are most well known for the four falls of Buffalo, meaning the
Yep.
four times in a row where they lost in the Super Bowl. And this team, as much as the opportunity for the Buffalo Bills is the best it's ever been. In the Josh Allen era, this version of the AFC, I wish we could pick one of the rosters of any other year in Buffalo to play alongside Josh Allen in this year, because he's always been going right up against Patrick Mahomes. And of course, the down year for the Chiefs also happens to coincide with the down year for himself and his roster and his team. So I'm sticking with Philadelphia. I don't feel great about it, but I feel better than I do about the team that's best known for losing in the Super
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Philadelphia Eagles also, and simply because, like you said, the statistic Jalen Hurts didn't complete a pass in the second half. They still won a football game, right? Like, and to me, that shines a light on the Buffalo Bills too. That this might be the third or fourth time that we've seen inconsistencies with the Buffalo Bills. Now we know the Philadelphia Eagles is the much more talked about situation, and a lot of that you can give credit to AJ Brown. But this Buffalo Bills offense has sputtered at times, right, to where it looks like a shell of itself. So I'm gonna go with the Philadelphia Eagles. I have more confidence in them. I honestly, in a weird way, I have more confidence in their head coach, Nick Sirianni. Like, he is crazy, but he knows the right time to be crazy. I think McDermott is still trying to find himself, right? And at the end of the game, going for the 2 points, I didn't understand why not just kick the extra point and be like, you know what, we'll see y'all in overtime, and take your chances, right? That, you know what, we played better in the second half than what we played in the first half. Hopefully we can outlast them a quarter. I didn't fully understand. I understand going for the win, but now you're looking at it with a loss, right? And it just back into the season, final 2 weeks, you want all the momentum that you could possibly gain as far as winning games the back end of the year. So I didn't love the decision, and I agree with you. It's just this overarching, what do you say, spell, right? Just over the Buffalo Bills, to where you get really concerned when the stakes get high, that they start to have that notion of what can go wrong will go wrong. They will get in their way more than somebody else will get in their way. So I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I was really disappointed to see them go for two in that moment. And I understand 99 out of 100 times Josh Allen hits that throw. Like it was a miss. And Josh Allen, he usually in a loss is so calm. And you could see that's the most visibly upset I've seen Josh Allen
Mhm.
after a moment, because he was upset with himself. But the problem I had with it is the problem that you kind of alluded to, which is a coach that's been coaching for as many years as Sean McDermott to still be chasing an identity, because that's not who they are. The Buffalo Bills are not the team that goes for it in that moment. They're the team that goes to overtime and plays to win the football game. And that's why when he did it, I went, there's no way, right? This is not, Sean McDermott's not going to go for it here.
Yeah. Yep.
It didn't add up to what we've known of him. And that was, to me, more concerning than anything, because that's, to me, a coach that's still trying to figure himself out. And you shouldn't be trying to figure yourself
Well,
out this many years into this organization and this coach and head coach and quarterback tandem. I think that was what I was most concerned about, Keith.
yeah, because there was a time where people were saying Sean McDermott was too passive, right? And I think that's what's going on now, is that, we always hear head coaches say block out the noise. But Sean McDermott is a prime example of when coaches could read the clippings, right? The newsline clippings, the newspaper clippings, and they start to adjust their game plan and their approach. And I thought that was a clear thing. Like, y'all are at home, right? Like, y'all are at home. You just scored a touchdown. Like, hey man, listen, we're not even supposed to be in overtime because we were down double digits in the first half. We can outlast this team. We can go win this football game. And y'all did it early in the season with the Baltimore Ravens, right? Y'all came back on the Ravens in a game that y'all was supposed to be out of, and you outlasted them, and you had the last punch. So to me, and there are times where you can say going for 2 is aggressive, but I think the part we don't talk about, there's times for 2 when you're trying to bail yourself out. Like you're kind of saying, I need this haymaker because I don't want this fight anymore. And to me, that's what it came off as.
100%. And I think that's that point of you had all the momentum going your way, right?
Yep.
You had all the momentum going in the fourth quarter. The Eagles, I've said it and I'll say it again, the Eagles did not complete a pass, right? In the second half. So when you're talking about your confidence level in your defense being able to make a stop, you go to overtime, you defer, you kick off to the Eagles, get a stop on defense, and go win that football game. That to me, I was sitting there going, I can't believe what I'm watching from Sean McDermott. This is very, very bizarre. And also just some of the play calling with Joe Brady throughout the game. But something I want to get into with you is, because you mentioned it, when you talk about how the Philadelphia Eagles are covered, right? The amount of media attention and how the A.J. Brown situation has been, up and down and all over the place. How about the Keon Coleman situation? How about the Keon Coleman situation? Because this is now 4 straight healthy scratches for this team. No explanation. Nobody's talking about it. We've heard the immaturity. We've heard this. But when you look at this roster and you look at the fact that this is a guy who you thought they were invested in with where they drafted him, the fact that they didn't go get another receiver at the deadline, this is a guy they need out there, quite frankly. And I'm just trying to figure out, because if this was the Eagles, this would be Category 5 hurricane. It would be everybody be talking about it. And it seems to have just become a footnote, and it shouldn't be, because Keon Coleman is very talented and this team needs him out there. So we need an explanation, Keith. I just don't understand what's going on here with this team.
Yeah, no, you need an explanation I think the fans need an explanation, right? But then to the rest of the team, at some point, the head coach is going to have an explanation of, whatever rule he violated, right? That it was important enough that I punish him, that we lose football games, that we are not going to be at our very best, right? And I go to a head coach that's been, critically acclaimed over the past few years, and Mike Tomlin. Nobody has dealt with more off the field issues in the past 20 years than Mike Tomlin. He has an all-star of off the field issue character guys, and he's found a way for them, one, to play football games, for him to win, and for them to maintain culture, right? Because they never had bad football culture. It was always about winning, but also he dealt with so many variants of characters. Like I said, it's a Hall of Fame list when you go down Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, George Pickens, right? And that's just the ones that we know about. That's the stuff that got out, right? Let alone the stuff that was behind closed doors. So I hope for Sean McDermott's sake and the Buffalo Bills' sake, right? Because you owe it to your players to put them in the best position to win the football games. And if Keon Coleman is immature, I understand it. Like you said, it's been 4 weeks. I think the first time he sat down was against the Tampa Bay Bucks a month ago. It's time to figure it out. If he can't play, then go ahead and say he won't be on the field anymore. But if he can play and he's ready to rock and roll, put him out there, because this is your window to win a Super Bowl. And I'm leaving off making that point. I want to get into my next question with the Buffalo Bills. And it's pertaining to Josh Allen. Is he the quarterback with the most pressure on him this postseason?
I think it's an obvious yes, because the thing that has prohibited this team from making the Super Bowl, the 13 seconds game, you think of all these matchups that they faced, is not their kryptonite, is not in this postseason. You may not have Lamar Jackson. You're not getting Joe Burrow. You're not getting the powerhouse. When we've talked about the guys at the top of this league,
the top 4
over the last, none of them except Josh Allen are sitting there in the AFC right now. And this is that opportunity. They already squandered the first part of this, which was to have home field advantage, to be able to win the division. And they're not going to do that now. So now they're going to have to go on the road. But part of that, for me, I think ends up being better. I think they need that. I think it could actually potentially be a good challenge for Josh Allen. But the pressure is all on him, because all these other guys in the AFC, they're all young guys. They're all young guys. This is their early on in their career. You think about CJ Stroud, Drake May, Bo Nix. You're looking at young guys who are early on in their career who don't have accumulated losses. They also don't play for the team. Again, I'm sorry, Buffalo fans, close your ears. who lost 4 times in a row in a Super Bowl. This is just who they are. It's the identity of that entire organization. And this has been something that they've constantly been able to tell us. Well, if we could just get past the Chiefs, that excuse isn't going to be available to them.
Yep.
It's you're not, this is the Jordan years in the 90s. It was always, well, we can't get past. Well, you had the 2-year gap where Jordan wasn't playing in the 90s, and those 2 years you had to go win. And that's the same situation with Kansas City. You've got this gap now where Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills and their fan base, they don't have a built-in excuse because he is the most talented quarterback that's playing, and he is the most talented guy and the most experienced on the AFC side. So, yeah, this is going to be a very interesting postseason to see how this goes because there has yet to be any noise around Sean McDermott after all these years of failing to go up against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. But I do not think that the fans, and I know the media, will feel the same if they lose to Bo Nix or they lose to Drake May or they lose to CJ Stroud. It's not going to feel the same as getting hit by the heavyweight that is Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, you just can't lose, right? And people they put in the excuses and the understanding, right? Of like, hey, listen, that's MVP Lamar Jackson, right? That's MVP and greatest quarterback of all time, Patrick Mahomes. What is your excuse when it's Bo Nix? What is your excuse when it's CJ Stroud, right? Like you don't have one. What is your excuse when it's a in divisional rival Drake May, right? Who's up and coming? Like you won't have an excuse anymore. And I think honestly, you start to look at it from like, okay, are we moving backwards now, right? Like if we lose to the Broncos or something like that, we not only have to worry about the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, a healthy Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, but we on a tier with the Denver Broncos and the New England Patriots, right? To where maybe a tier 2.5 type team in the AFC. So they have to get the job done. Like this is their year where all of those veteran quarterbacks are out the way. Now this is about y'all. The part that scares me the most is that it's always about the Buffalo Bills. It's them getting in their way. And I hope that they don't find a way to get in their way because I agree with you. I think the narrative is going to be a major shift change to, okay, what is Sean McDermott doing? What is Josh Allen doing? What's the excuse of not getting it done this year?
And the unfortunate part is, if I'm honest, this is the worst roster they've had in quite some time. This is not the roster that I feel the most comfortable with. It's not, Bo Nix has a top 5 defense in the NFL to have to play against. He has an unbelievable home field advantage. The Texans are the number 1 defense in the NFL that creates turnovers and puts pressure on everything. He doesn't have those things. He doesn't have top tier weapons. He doesn't have a running game their running game is their only consistent thing right now that they can count on outside of Josh Allen. But this Keon Coleman situation is going to be very interesting to pay attention to because they need weapons. They need guys for Josh to throw to. There were multiple times in this game where you're watching him scramble out and he's going back to bad tendencies that he had earlier on in his career that we saw him get away from because there's not enough people open. There's not enough people. And that's the scheme that's happening. That's fine what Joe Brady's running. But your problem is you don't have enough talented players out there right now. And you didn't have enough when you included Keon Coleman. Then you take Keon Coleman off the field, and now you're really depleted offensively. I have found it very interesting that we will literally dissect every tweet / Madden appearance / anything that A.J. Brown does, but nobody's asking questions about Keon Coleman. It's just quiet. It's just, yep.
No, and not only that,
quite frankly.
Yeah, not only that, Paige, he still has a NFL shop commercial, right? Like he's still one of the guys on a commercial selling NFL merchandise. I'm like, they might want to take this down. Like this optically makes no sense at all. We're promoting a guy who's not even on the
national campaigns. You're in Louisiana. I'm in Arizona. We are very far away from Buffalo, New York. And we are seeing commercials on national TV showing Keon Coleman, who has been an inactive, healthy scratch for a month. That is insane. I just don't understand because we literally have no answers. And we've heard a little bit. You heard Deion Dawkins talk about it initially when it happened. He's got to grow up. He's got to mature. Okay, but this is now a month. What did he do besides, I think, late to meetings? And I get it. These are inexcusable things. But why is he not coming along? Why are things not getting better? Why do we not know when he's going to play? I have a tough time with this because I've never thought that Buffalo had bad football culture. But this culturally could be a stain for Sean McDermott and this organization, because I understand that a player can be bad and you can isolate that player. Mike Tomlin, the example you used, he's had plenty of those. But this version, this is them not handling it. Just making him a healthy scratch, this is not handling it. You can't, you got to try and trade him away. You got to try and do the George Pickens. You got to try and sell him to somebody as if he's going to be a player that can be an asset to them, because I don't understand what's going on. And I mostly don't understand why they're getting away with it, because man, every side eye, look, glance, and everything gets evaluated from AJ Brown. And we're not hearing anything about Keon Coleman.
Yeah, we're not. And that situation is ultimately confusing, right? I think the fans are confused. Everybody who watches the NFL is confused by this situation. Let's